Today I'd like to touch on some of the tactics that these cult leaders like to use to keep people in their clutches and under their control, essentially. Many of the leaders have been doing this for 30 years, some less. However, they've pretty much mastered this craft of theirs and being able to manipulate their followers. I believe that one of the favorite within the Israelite cults is coercive persuasion, which is, better known as brainwashing. This coercive persuasion usually involves isolation from family, from friends, limits your sources of information. You're told not to engage with other people who don't believe in the same exact things you do. So basically, you can't engage with anyone outside of your Israelite group or camp. You're also told not to read or trust other books outside of the King James Version of the Bible. Books about any type of science is a definite no. You basically become a whole nother person. You're unable to do many of the things that you used to do, associate with the people that you used to associate with, go places that you would normally go. Also, they like to use public humiliation a lot. If you're caught hanging out or engaging with someone that doesn't believe what you believe, they'll basically humiliate you to maintain that control. They don't want you talking to outsiders too much. Probably in fear that those outsiders might talk you out of the brainwashing. And they use coercive persuasion, fear and guilt, sensory overload. So basically, with the fear and guilt, they keep you in a high strung state of anxiety, emotion, in fear that the world is going to end like tomorrow. So you're always on your P's and Q's and making sure that you are doing and following in line of what the cult would want you to. The sensory overload tactic basically is when you're being flooded with so much complex information, new doctrine. They're giving you so many goals and definitions to replace how you normally would think about it. And there's so much coming to you that you can't even dispute it. For example, Vanya Sisk, who was the mother of Jayden Higginbotham, who I talked about in my last video, she was convinced and coerced into believing that the best thing to do was to murder this child. And that mind control and brainwashing has to be something very powerful for a mother to give up and sacrifice their firstborn child. And I believe this was her firstborn child, to my knowledge. She had Jayden from a previous marriage, and she had 3 other children with Moses in a very short time. I think she was with him several years, but not that long. I believe it was like 2.5 years, 3 years or so. At one point during one of the investigations, Vanya became aggravated with her family and detectives asking about where Jayden was. So she basically said that assured everyone Jayden is fine. And one of these specific times, she told everybody, and I quote, "Get off my ass. Jayden is fine. Everybody will find out that he's fine. Everybody will see him when the world ends in 2012, end quote. And yes, we are now in 2021 and the world is still here. So within this cult, they were all in a state of anxiety and panic and just basically wanting to do the proper things before the Lord would come back. And by killing Jaden, I guess that they believed they would have some kind of favor for getting rid of a boy that they assumed was gay. Imagine being that under subjection to somebody that they can convince you to kill your firstborn child. Imagine that stronghold that Peter Lucas Moses Jr. had over those women and the belief system. One of the other women, Lavada Harris, who was about 40, also had been with Moses maybe about 8 years or so. And during this time period, her family had urged her father included, and family urged her on many occasions to distance herself from Moses, and they felt as if something bad would happen dealing with him. The father stated that he just didn't have a good feeling about the lifestyle she was living. I'm going to play a clip that I was able to find of Moses speaking on one of his videos.
You was cursed to serve us. You are our possession. Get that through your head.
The tone and rhetoric is something I believe he learned from his elders.
Once again, that proves that women are property. Because if you're
property of their fathers,
exactly.
or when they are married, they're property of their husbands. Okay?
Women are property, and a lot of you guys don't accept that. You think that these women are our equal. They're not our equal. We're property, man. That's all a woman is. The word woman means servant.
And you gotta think like that, man. You know, we got women, you gotta, deal with them. We in this fucking world. But in the kingdom, man, you're gonna have them women lined up and you're gonna deal with them, man.
That's right.
According to the way you want to deal with them, man.
That's right. Property.
But a woman's job, her destiny, her purpose is to be under a man anyway. So in this society, people look at things like that, they get all messed up because they think that men and women are equal, it should be fair, the woman should be able to do with the man. Well, that ain't what the Bible says, though. The Bible don't say a woman shouldn't be with different men. That's just the bottom line. If you was with a dude, and then he was an unbeliever, or he leaves or whatever, and you was in the truth, then you just gotta be single. That's just what the law says. It says it here again, the wife is bound by the law as long as her husband liveth. Did you hear that? As long as he's alive. But if
Come in the flesh? So what color was it?
To me, he was black.
All right, lady. Good. Well, I don't know if you're a lady. Sorry, you're a woman. Okay, because a lady, when you look up the word lady, it means one who belongs to a man. All right, good.
Okay.
All right, that was enough of that. Hopefully that gives you a better understanding of the mindset and mentality that the women in the house were dealing with Peter Lucas Moses Jr. So even if these women did gain the strength and courage to leave this man and leave this situation, they would have still been frowned upon. They would have been isolated. And the way that they teach, their doctrine is that basically if you have a husband and he's still alive, even if you all have separated, divorced, you cannot be with another man. That is a sin. Therefore, you have to stay single for the rest of your life. You can't date. You can't talk to anybody. That's very frowned upon. So I think that fear of just thinking that you're doing the wrong thing, that you're sinning, leaving your husband, that you're supposed to be obedient, you are his property, and that whole rhetoric and doctrine that they preach. And also, you have to remember that they put fear into you as if the Lord is going to, kill you. You didn't stay with this man. Just imagine, these are God-fearing women, women that want to do the right thing, women that want to be obedient, want to obey their husband, and who wants to be? Most women don't want to be alone for the rest of their life. Even if you leave that one man within Israel, you cannot go to another camp or to another church and get a husband. They will condemn you, and then they will call you a harlot and a whore, and we'll get into that on another video. But just imagine the mind state these women were in, that they felt like they had to go along with this murder. For a mother to feel like she has to murder her firstborn child.